In 1918, the U.S. government's Committee on Public Information produced what it said was the first ever American war picture called Pershing's Crusaders, following the flag to France, which was shown in theaters across America. Here you see an advertisement for the film in the Andover, Massachusetts newspaper and the Atlanta Georgian. The film quality is quite good, but there was no sound, only captions to tell the story of this crusade and why it had to be done. I think the fascinating aspect of this film is for you to put yourself in the place of a 1918 American with a major war occurring in which likely a relative of yours was fighting. In 1918, there was not even radio broadcasts, and newspapers could scarcely cover the conflict. This film would have been your first glimpse, your first insight into what was happening in Europe. Secondly, pay attention to the, frankly, propaganda aspect of this, meaning the words the U.S. government chose and the pictures they showed to convince you of the holiness of this crusade. Another quite interesting feature of this film is the great historical insights you will glean into how the U.S. ramped up for the war, visual insights that history books do not reveal. The industrial production, the laborers, the women who stepped forward, and a very holistic national approach. Here else is something interesting. I found the U.S. Archives copy of this film's narration, the captions. There are 12 pages of them. Here you see 3 captions that someone wrote on the script out, meaning to cut out. And in most cases, not all, these captions were cut out. These 3 were cut. They contain the words German monster, Huns, and Boche. B-O-C-H-E. I had to consult Mr. Webster for that term. It turns out it's a derogatory term for a German, especially a soldier. Finally, inexplicably, I found 2 almost identical copies of this archival film, Pershing's Crusaders, both cataloged under separate numbers. One seems to have been an initial production, the other a later production of better quality. They are very similar, but one difference being a menacing German fist busting through a map, which the second copy did not have. I'll show you the fist. Finally, this was a silent film. I have embedded background music. The film captions continue to deteriorate in quality, so I will read the captions. The one for this frame says, "For the enormous task of clothing 2 million men, the government had to install machinery to lay in long folds the miles and miles of khaki necessary for uniforms." 60 thicknesses of cloth are cut at once by the portable electric knife. 660 coats are in this one length of folded material. It is interesting to note that every woman working in Uncle Sam's tailor shop has a near relative in the service. How much America owes this woman whose son stands in the trenches of France. The button machine is a rapid-fire apparatus. Every piece is thoroughly inspected before it leaves the factory. $5.5 million shirts and nearly 11 million pieces of underwear have been turned out for our great soldier family. $6 million blankets have been made, compressed to 1/3 of their original size and baled for shipment. $8,500,000 pairs of the most comfortable shoes in the world have been supplied to the Army. These shoes are made by the best of American machinery on the best American design for the best of America's manhood. Speed. Every American Army shoe finished fits our boys, but it hurts the Kaiser. Here's the supply of meat for one camp for one day. 2 million boys have 6 million husky appetites every day. The Army bakers turn out 500,000 loaves of bread every day. Cleanliness is next to fighting ability. Each camp, therefore, has its own laundry. Our Army became the owners of the world's largest laundry when Uncle Sam began to, quote, take in washing, unquote. The Navy drying system seems simpler, another method said to be very effective. American millions have been given for war charities. The Red Cross buildings are in each camp, here and abroad. The YMCA is always found wherever the Army stops long enough to sit down. In these buildings, the boys find rest and recreation. The Knights of Columbus take good care of the Knights of Democracy. The Masons have not forgotten the great brotherhood in arms. The hostess house of the YWCA. Adopted mothers are better than none at all. The enormous problem of supplying ships is being attacked with the utmost energy. Great shipyards have sprung up all over the country as if by magic. By autumn, 50 ships will be turned out in this yard at one time. When America calls, the American workman answers. Here is labor swearing allegiance to the flag. Thousands and thousands of workmen are now engaged in this work, and the shipbuilding art is revived as an American craft. Even the houses for these workmen had to be built by Uncle Sam. Mighty ships are being built in reply to Pershing's cry, quote, "Build us a bridge of ships," unquote. Every few days from now on, new units in this bridge of ships will slip down the ways as victory vessels. Big guns. More big guns, and still more big guns. This program is being carried out with every ounce of American energy. Here they are, 14-inch shells, every one destined to strike a blow for freedom, every one with a prayer for success. The most dramatic incident in our participation in the war occurs when Secretary of War draws the first number in the great lottery which created our national army. American lays upon the altar of the nation's needs her bodily strength, her mental powers, and all of her material possessions to keep the stars and stripes on high with honor. From these boys and 1.5 million more like them, our national army has sprung. Daily lectures on military subjects are delivered to the boys by experts. An itinerant camp kitchen used at the front. The national standby, beans. To see 'em every day makes a soldier so mad he could lick 10 Germans. Off for the day's training in the art which will help our allies drive the Kaiser over the Rhine. Our boys again, fit to fight and every man set on a hair trigger. A practice advance. All must reach the enemy's lines at the same time. United States Medical Corps ready to leave for France. Ambulance drivers must know every part of motor construction and repair. A defective spark plug may mean the loss of life. Supremacy in the air is the aim of America, to strike to earth the German vultures. Our Navy, for nearly half a century and a half, it has maintained its stainless reputation. Naval recruits, like the boys in the Army, are put through a course of intensive training. Every thundering crash of these great pieces of ordnance must sound like the voice of judgment to Kaiser Bill. These big guns have never yet been fired in an unjust cause. Our warships are floating fortresses. Camouflage of the sea, the smoke screen which hides from the enemy the movements of the fleet. On landing, General Pershing is received by the French and British military authorities and reviews the Guard of Honor. landing, the happiest day of their lives. France, at last. Paris opens wide her arms to the American fighters. Singing, shouting, weeping crowds make their own holiday. Ceremonies at the Invalides in honor of our boys. From left to right, Marshal Joffre, General Pershing, Mr. Dubost, Speaker of the Senate, President Poincare, Mr. Deschanel, Speaker of the Chamber of Deputies, American Ambassador William G. Sharp, Mr. Painleave, Secretary of War, Admiral Lacaze, Secretary of the Navy, General Dubail, Governor of Paris, and General Foch, Commander-in-Chief of the Allied Army. American troops, escorted by a detachment of French cuirassiers, marched through Paris on their way to the front. Ambassador William G. Sharp pays tribute to the memory of Lafayette in the cemetery of Picpus. Rand Whitlock, former American ambassador at Brussels, says the martyrdom of Belgium and northern France shall not be forgotten. General Pershing tells the French representatives that our country is coming to their aid with its every resource. Exact locations, identification of military units, and details of construction and intention have been omitted in this film for obvious reasons. The enemy has eyes and ears in every American community. The Signal Corps men string the wires nearer and nearer to the front. Cold steel scares the Boche to death, but sharp steel keeps him dead. As spring approached, units were advanced further towards the trenches. Here, the engineers are moving up. colonel of infantry and staff in front of a bomb-proof dugout used as the regimental headquarters. This regiment of infantry of the 1st Division is proof positive of the unity of America. The 5th Platoon, Company H of this regiment is made up of Indians, Italians, Spanish, Irish, Chinese, and 2 native-born Americans. Six regular enlisted men from China, now good Americans fighting to make the world a decent place to live in. Between the trees, at a turn in the road, a little French camouflage hides the movements of our troops. American ammunition, when it reaches the Hun hangouts, the S will be off the shells. Our boys leaving church in the little village where some of them are billeted. Watch them march, verve, zest, snap. They're our boys and we're proud of them. Behind the lines, pals. These boys believe in short hair, getting used to close shaves. For those whose breasts are too savage for music to charm, a more strenuous safety valve is opened. In the aviation camps, our boys are undergoing final training. America gave the world the aeroplane. America must excel in its use. At the ground receiving station, wireless messages from the men aloft are received and forwarded. Our birdmen read signs and signals made like this on the ground. Brains and brawn, the men in the aviation section. Just a little handful of our boys, and German prisoners say they didn't know any American troops were in France. The boys at rest, awaiting the visit of President Poincaré of France. Here in Battery C, on its way to the front, is the first American gun to roar into the enemy's ears the President's message of, quote, force to the utmost, unquote. Major General Edwards and the heads of staff review the division. Ordered to the front, many of our boys are baptized. Chaplain Rollins officiates and their colonel acts as sponsor. Surely God's benediction rests on these boys about to take their places in front of the brutal Boches. The following scenes were made in the frontline trenches on the first day American troops occupied them. Here, an Algerian guide leads through the trenches an officer who is placing sentries on outpost duty. One of our Signal Corps men keeping the trench wires clear. These wires are part of the enemy's nerve system. Tenderness and skill are the passwords at the dressing stations. Our boys at the nearest point to Berlin, as yet, a front line trench. Just 1,500 feet in front of this trench, The destroyers of democracy are shooting at our boys. The gas alarm. The dispatch rider's steeds of yesterday and today. Everybody is welcome at the infantry's post office, and everyone goes there, apparently. The soup kitchen goes where the boys go, and it's welcome. Getting food into the trenches is more excitement than a quick lunch restaurant. A busy day at, quote, Broadway and Fifth Avenue, unquote. An exploding shell added a few miles per hour to the speed of this car. Even the pup won't wear it. Secretary of War Baker visits France to learn at first hand the needs and accomplishments of our Army. General Pershing shows Secretary Baker the French camouflage guns now being used by the Americans. Zowie. Here's the first German prisoners captured by our boys, 21 men and 2 disgusted officers. Each Hun is questioned separately in an effort to learn something in relation to the enemy's plans. These are just a sample. If we like them, we'll capture a couple million. General Pershing with General de Puderqueen, commander of the Blue Devils, reviews the fighting legions of America and France. Woodrow Wilson, President of the United States and champion of humanity's cause.